double check my audio, make sure everything's correct. No more lacking, no more nothing. I swear you will hear me today. I also fixed the music volume so it doesn't overhear my voice since I talk really soft too. Oh well, if you can hear me, it's a pause. Alright. Now let's change the music a little bit. It's a bit too creepy for now. Let's see. I love this one. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum. Bum, bum. Bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. La 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 la. Herscherik, reincarnated Prince Series, Volume 1, Chapter 2. Part 1 by who Tales translate. Okay, ito lang. Yay! Thanks. The mourning for herscherik, the seventh prince of the greatest kingdom, is slow. Only when the courtesan who live in the inner palace has finished their breakfast will be the person charged for their tableware and take him out of bed. I want to go back to sleep. Ryoko, no herscherik, who frankly only wanted to sleep until noon, thinks as soon as he absent-mindedly stares with sleepy eyes. He kept a record of sleeping of 17 hours straight in the previous world. A proud record that he couldn't exactly boast around. He's weak among the mornings. In the previous world, he had to set up 3 alarm clocks, plus the alarm clock function in her phone, so she could make the time out of her bed, barely. Plus, strange, somehow, the alarm has gone under the futon. In the past life, she would have tilted her head when she found all her alarms on her smartphone, and she would exasperate then dispose them. Obviously, it knew the original purpose of having an alarm in the first place. When she began living on her own, she was barely on time, all the time. I need to change my clothes. Herscherik took his time to remove his clothes, then stretch in the spot while snuffing his yarn. The sun was already high up, as the carpet was bathed under the gentle breeze sunlight that peeked from the gap of the curtain which covered the window. The day he remembered his past life, the so-called awakening of his ego, was when he's slightly older than 2 years old. The time when he was a baby, supremely blissful. If he was sleepy, he could sleep under his futon until night. Whenever he was bored, Mila, the first feminine name he heard, and later found out to be his nanny. But anyway, when Mila brought him to walks or read some picture books to him, when he thought he was hungry, the food would soon be prepared. He was fully enjoying his convenient baby life. But that only lasted when he was a baby. Now that he could stand on his feet and arrange his time, Ryoko felt that was too embarrassing and pathetic to leave everything to his nursing mother. It feels very vaguely like a manga, having appearance of a child, but a brain of adult. Or in this case, the auntie. When he couldn't move my body. When he couldn't move my body as he wanted, he acted like a baby, from changing clothes to being fed, from bathing to issues down there. Mila encourages did those for him, but after he gradually got used to his body, he refused to accept any help to do anything from A to Z. Being troubled over conveying that resulted Hersherik's decision to behave like a proper toddler, say, I can do that alone. Whenever Mila is about to do something, Hersherik refused and threw a tantrum by saying, No, I could do it alone. When the time comes to change clothes, he snatched the clothes away. When it's mealtime, he demands for the spoon. He only wanted to go to the toilet alone, too. Even bath, he refused any help and do everything by himself. Mila showed a confused expression at first, but Hersherik slowly been able to change the clothes on his own. He by himself finished the toilet business on his own, so Mila has been less anxious and doesn't help more than necessary. This doesn't mean she neglected her duty. As soon as she could deal with something, she had always been prepared to do that. It's dangerous too for a child, like knives, scissors could be found around Hershey's arm's reach. She didn't bring them around either. Then she praised Hershey when he overcome his task as he was her own son. Well, I also tricked her, which was pretty embarrassing, Hershey said to recall. It would take a natural to be able to do things from the start. He intentionally made mistakes in buttoning up his shirt, mistaking the right and left shoes in order not to be suspicious. He dropped the spoon not so accidentally or toppled his cups. Mila would let out a tiny sigh while cleaning them up. While inwardly apologizing, Hershey gradually showed her that he could do those things. Thanks to that, now Mila doesn't worry anymore. Hershey gave excuse that he oversleeps sometimes, but to his amusement, Hershey jumped out of his bed, landed on the soft carpet. He can't balance his body, so he reached quickly out for his hand, but ended up falling to his face. It had shown shameful behavior at first. He struggled to walk on his 2 feet and also unhindered, since it was no difference to walking pace she had in the previous life. While sniffling for a yawn for a second time, Hershey turned to his bathroom direction. He stepped into the stool prepared for him to use, twisted the tap to pour the water into the bucket and fill it with to wash his face. Instantly, the daily device in this world only had little disparity to the modern Japan. If the faucet was twisted, water will come out. Toilet will also water flush. And there a shower too. The bathtub is also filled with heat water. He did wonder if it's too convenient or was just a stream. But in his sleep and awake, the world didn't change. Hershey finished washing his face and walked on his feet into the dressing room. The first time I saw that, I was really surprised. Besides the bathroom, There's a small room installed, a 10 tatami size. Walking into the room, a sight of expensive-looking outfits greets him from left to right. Not only clothes, even shoes and accessories are all prepared. All order make the exception. While being overwhelmed by dazzling garment, herscherik takes out a suitable outfit among them. Let's wear the blue outfit today. herscherik takes his time to undress his pajama. He could do that already. But with his 3-year-old body, his movement is still slow. He put his arm onto the blouse, pulling his trouser up to the tight, putting on a jacket. He knows they will use fine quality fabric from the way they slide wonderfully on his skin. The decoration are workmanship of first-rated artisan, those glittering gold buttons. Finishing changing clothes, he combed his silky blonde hair to fix his bed hair. Before reincarnated, she had fuzzy hair, so she had to fight every morning to fix her bed hair. However, this blonde hair becomes straight just by combing once. He felt grateful. The very last one is the twirl in front of the full-body mirror. Look at that reflection of a pretty girl. No, pretty boy. His blonde hair, blue eyes combination. herscherik nodded in satisfaction. The difference between my previous life is like heaven and earth. herscherik reminiscent of his past life. Even though he was a woman, she previously had no interest in clothes and jewelry. She was given uniform from workplace. At home, jersey was enough. When she went out, jeans and t-shirts and trainer suits. Only when going out with her friends or family members she would smartly dress up in high spirits. As a member of society, she was cautious of her attire while commuting to work, but it couldn't be said to be fashionable. She, compared to his previous life, he has more consciousness of his body. herscherik admires himself just thinking that his body is still growing. All those older make clothes are wasteful. Not only wearing the clothes he already would be inexcusable. Good morning, Hirsch. Where are you? Upon hearing a young woman's voice calling him, herscherik showed up his face from a closet room. Mela and the young owner of that voice already there with breakfast that previously brought in. You change your clothes on your own. You did great, Hirsch. The young man smiled. The smile was so dazzling that herscherik unconsciously squinted his eye. Platinum blonde color akin to gathered moonlight. Blue eyes and luxurious as herscherik's. The deep outer corner of his eyes slanted down, but it was made to possess a gentle bearing. He had the look of a shonen in his late 20s, right there. Yet herscherik knew better. Even though he looked like this, he's already in his 30s. The shonen. He is roughly around the same age as me in the past life. That's so unfair. herscherik smiled while thinking of that, giving a morning greeting. Good morning, Odo-sama. herscherik recalled his shock when realizing the beautiful youth is his own father. His reincarnated self is in deeper vibe. The compensation of reverting to a baby, but the youth was so beautiful he mistaken as a young woman. However, the male half of his parent possessed the same platinum color up there, and doubtfully where he got it from. herscherik misunderstood once again when they met afterwards, guessing that he was his older brother instead of his father due to his youthful look. He was surprised. They really far apart as sibling. Since his visiting time didn't have a fixed schedule, herscherik was worried about whether he was working properly or not. The son is endlessly worried, yet absolutely won't show that on his face. The father holding his beloved son up in his arm with a smile that's so dazzling that any woman will be KO in one hit. The ruffled, fluffy blonde hair that the herscherik just finished styling. Ruffles, the blonde hair that herscherik just finished styling. Herscherik, who couldn't get used to his hair being ruffled no matter how much, squinted tickishly and showed a shy expression. He appears as 3-year-old toddler, but mentally, herscherik is sloppy 30-year-old woman who had long abandoned love. This kind of response was already the best effort he could muster. In this time after his meetings, "It's time for your meeting soon, Your Majesty," a low, deep voice interrupts the father-son private time. The notification came from a man in his prime age, black eyes combined with dark hair. That deep green belonged to the prime adult man of composed air. His name is Rock. He is herscherik father's butler. There are many people who associate the butler in a fantasy world to nobility. Even herscherik used to think like that. Actually, moreover, herscherik has predicted that he was reincarnated into a family that was doing pretty well from the moment he noticed he had a nanny. However, the reality was much more exaggerated. The living standard was high, so I thought I was incarnated as the son of above average noble house, but who would thought I'm an actual prince? When the revelation came to him, herszerik's emotion was really chaotic. She wished to be a princess or a lady as a child, but now he has surely become a prince. He wondered how he could wish for something like that back then. It's true that you have to be careful what you wish for. Herscherik is still a child, but somehow he feels like he has lost something precious. Having been told by his own butler, herszerik's father, the 23rd king of the greatest kingdom, Soler, regretfully put his son on the ground past herszerik's head. "Then I'll be going." "Yes, I wish you do your best on your duties today, Odo-sama." Soler smiled from herszerik's word and rubbed his son's head once again, then exits the room, taking his butler with him. After sitting off his father, the king, herscherik sits on a chair waiting for a meal prepared by Mila while looking at a painting above the fireplace. Directly facing the dining chair, the painting portrays a blonde similar to Mona Lisa. Mila only recently told him that it was the portrait of his mother. Herschel's mother, told by Mila, died after condition worsened from giving birth to him. According to Mila, his father was the most favored concubine of all the consorts and concubines in the palace. But since she came from a lovely merchant origin, Since she came from a lowly merchant origin, she couldn't become the queen's consort. She didn't aim for that status either. She only wished to be the king's side. Since Mila told a story of how two met very excitedly, she couldn't figure out which part is true or exaggerated. However, anybody who enjoys shoujo manga would blush so hard hearing the development to part where his father went out to the castle town in disguise and met his mother there, and commented, "If that's true, it won't be weird if their son strayed off the right path, because he will feel too embarrassed, And someone proposed the marriage at last, which was his mother, not his father. At that point, their age differed more than 12 years, but his mother didn't seem to mind that when she proposed. Anyhow, his father looked young, but actually in his 30s, while his mother was only 18 when they got married. And so, Herschel endlessly worried further if his father was a lolicon. becoming Mila. Because Mila accompanied Hershrik's mother, she talked a lot about the past and nostalgia. His mother, compared to other consorts and concubines, were less attractive in look. That being said, the consorts all possessed extraordinary beauty, so if she could compare to an ordinary woman, his mother seems beautiful enough. His mother was a really bright personality. Mela never saw her looking depressed, not even once. She was always cheerful, even though she was the favorite concubine. She loved doing housework. She often started cleaning her on her own, which made people around her feel trouble. She sneaked into the kitchen and baked cakes and cookies, then presented them in tea parties with other consorts. She greeted the tired king, who retired to his room with a special effects makeup of a ghost. She was a centric favorite concubine. Herscherik was born to that concubine and the king, but the concubine lost her life. The king lost the woman he loved the most. His father treated his mother favorable among his other consorts. He even used up all his break time to visit Herscherik. It's really heartbreaking. But it's not accurate to say that his father neglected other consorts' concubine and even his other children because of that. Herscherik is the youngest prince and didn't have any other sibling. His older brother and sister and 7 more years apart from him, each of them attending so-called schools and academy, usually are not around. The king's other consorts are also really good natured. There's no jealousy, plotting, or abundantly having so-called palace harem novel. They rather do some girl talks, like how cheering up the king, who always seems exhausted lately, chatting in the garden while having tea party, was witnessed by Herscherik while he go on a walk with Mela. Sometimes he takes the opportunity to get adoring touches and some sweets. For the time being, Herscherik hoped that the current favorite concubine's candidate will stop copying ghost makeup that his mother did. He can easily imagine the king's fate instead of feeling cheered up. Herscherik-sama, it's the long-awaited night, isn't it? Mila joyfully said. She served Herscherik's late breakfast. What kind of clothes shall we pick for you? How about a rich color outfit that you just got from the tailor? But Herscherik-sama's hair also fits the fresh green color, doesn't it? Herscherik tilted his head while looking at Mela with sparkling eyes. At her sparkling eyes. Is there something going to happen? Oh my! Mela's eye widened as she couldn't believe her ears. Tonight is Herscherik-sama's birthday feast. It's Herscherik-sama's debut party. Mela's word made Herscherik tilt his head for a second time. Yeah. Okay, part 2. Prince, royal family, birthday 2. It was a large banquet hall connected by a balcony to a garden and maintained for royal family exclusive use. The musical performance of top-ranking musicians all over the country echoed in the palace. The dance floor in the center of the hall was prepared beforehand, and several groups of women and men danced to the music. The vibrant dress of the lady flared out like a flower petal, almost like a fairy who announced the coming of spring. The venue was buffet being prepared. On top of the table, a pale white cloth was spread and crowds of dish was made by the chef who cooked exclusively for royal were lined up. Desserts placed on tray, glass, and highest-grade alcohol could be prepared to be used on this special day, and waitress came in and out like a wave. It's just what I like. 753 of this world. I wanna eat that food. While catching a glimpse of invitees enjoying the food from the corner of his eye, the star of the day, herscherik let out a sigh from his heart. Herscherik sat in the seat of honor beside his father, the king, in the banquet. He dealt with the ways of guests by giving business smile and learning his past life without showing any emotions. Maybe it's a custom in this country, but it seems the son of the daughter of royalty and aristocrat are introduced to high society at the age of 3, especially since royal children spend their time inside a palace, not appearing before people. They hardly have any contact with other aristocrats. He may have been visited by his material relatives, if they exist, but they aren't royalty. So they're only his old grandfather, who was a commodore. That grandfather apparently disowned herszerik's mother when she married, so the amount of people herscherik met since his birth, with his father and Mela, are the main ones. That is why the celebratory banquet is in honor of his 3rd birthday, but the first time he met so many people. By the way, 16-year-old is the true debut high society. 18-year-old is when one becomes adult and can drink alcohol. The reason why he knew that is because when his older brother, the first prince, turned 16 this year, arrived first to give his greeting together with the princess courtesan, his father happily informed him. The father gave a strange smile and warned him not to get too crazy. However, what caught herszerik's attention over his father's were an unbelievable army of beautiful men, women, boys, and girls that were princess, courtesan, and his siblings. Jean's beauty are amazing. One by one, members of royal family came to give their greeting here and there. There were great variety in beautiful forms. All princess courtesan were first-rated beauty, and their slender body begged in question if they really gave birth. Of course, as they were seated on a banquet, there's no way they will lose in terms of their clothes. From their makeup to their hairstyle, even their dress was done in finest quality. It wasn't just the princess courtesan though. His princess siblings were so beautiful it would make anybody turn to look at them. In comparison, like a flower probably exists for their sake. The start of the first prince, all prince and all beauties with good looks wouldn't lose to the princesses. Herscherik, whose vocabulary is very limited, was thankful a word like ikemen exists. For example, the oldest brother, the first prince, had a magnificent red hair. His red hair looked like it was on fire, and Ten's eye were the same color. His princess's consort, whose mother was very charming, but the son inherited her charm, and one's gesture was very fine. It probably had been drilled into him before, but the clothing tied up to fit his body, and his elegance spurred on. When he finished the greeting of the guests in honor of herscherik and the king, he was surrounded by many aristocratic daughters in a blink of an eye. But the figure of him accompanying them without giving a single unpleasant face truly resembled a young noble. Next, the second prince, who, if one had to say, resembled his father. Long, platinum blue, blonde hair, loosely tied in a braid behind him. His eyes were full of blue and depths of ocean that looked like somewhat fragile, but they gave off a different charm than the first prince. They looked like they will shatter if one touches them, but different to a woman. He is the owner of a beautiful face that hides his reflexible strength. There was a wide range of different among the 6 older prince brothers, yet no one could say there aren't all beautiful men. Everyone stated their congratulations speech, but herscherik didn't have the time to give thanks. What ultimate game is this? There are only beautiful men everywhere I look. Herscherik retorted inside his head. The first time he met his older brother, He felt that he was going to be sick and tired of beautiful people. It's fine. There is at least one disappointing child. Rather, there must be. It is I. Herscherik, going back and forth with a joke inside his head, felt very depressed. On such day, Mila was enthusiastic and dressed Herscherik magnificently. On his green tuxedo, fine embroidery, and the button engraved on his design and cloth shine. A fresh green silk ribbon stylishly tied around his neck. Merlin, his father, gave high praises, and he was conceited, thinking that he looks cool himself. But with beautiful brothers who came to give their greetings, his cheap consent considered to be crushed and had become dust. How do I put it? Like I'm missing a flower, or a princely aurora. Hershey thought he was looking at his brother, even though he is a typical prince with blonde hair and blue eye. Compared to other princes, he was lacking in guidiness. To think one's comparison, what comes to mind for the eldest brother is a rose, while the next eldest is Lily. For Hershey, a faded image of baby brief comes. How do I put it? Am I missing a flower or princely aurora? Even though it's not human face though. Only in his interior, Hershey felt like it's that his perspective of otaku woman in his past prime life has ended. Besides, even if I'm complimented by a beauty, I wouldn't feel happy to only hear a word of disgust. Would only hear the words of disgust. All brother he met for the first time welcomed him. Of course, they praised his manner and clothes, but he was frankly unhappy about the personal problem that Hershey has become a little sentimental. For example, the feeling when you compliment the cutest girl in a class and she responds with, "Oh no, you're cute too, you know." Of course, to his paranoia. By the way, in this example, Hershey is the one who gets a little annoyed at the classmate complimenting the cute girl rather than at the girl. While he's conceit being crushed and withered away, the waves coming towards him has changed. Royalty to noble. The first of the noble to see him was the Mr. Marquis Barbast. It's an honor to meet you for the first time, Your Highness Hersherick. Since I've been seeing beautiful people until now, an ordinary face calms me down. Hersherick thought that if he said those feelings about, it would be rude. Marquis Barbast was a man succeeding in the prime of his life, a calm, haze-colored-eyed and hair, as well as a fine mustache that bring out the feeling that he is indeed a noble. However, the glint in his eyes was sharp if he was evaluating him and caused Hersherick's previous feeling to take a complete change. Rethinking Hersherick's gaze in regards of his previous life, a terrible sensitive, whether it be friendly or unfriendly. Speaking of that, she sensed whenever her boss in the previous life workplace call her, and it's a special skill she considers herself. In addition, the intuition seems to be sharp, could also catch the phone with a abrupt movement and the phone's brim, a special skill that surprised the level even among her juniors. A skill that surprised the level surprised her junior. Bring. It's an honor to meet you. It's an honor to meet you, mister. Thank you for taking your time out to come here. Hersherick, who's cultivated his previous experience, gave a admirable response that would be unbelievable for a 3-year-old. After saying that, he noticed it was unnatural, but it's too late. In his previous life, Rio was mother will point out that point out that she does that. You're the type to deal with people you don't like by being polite as your level of hatred. You're the type of people who deal with people you don't like by being polite as your level of hatred. It was this position of her parents also shared. A mother, the whole sneaker, as she say, when you are treated extremely politely by a hateful guy, it doesn't make you irritated for no reason. And mother was indeed Ryogo's mother. In order to deceive the sharp gaze become minister's gaze, Herscherik flashed a forced smile. If you fail, dodge with a smile. This was also one of the secrets of success in life. Incidentally, if this technique has people it works on, people it does. It's necessary to read the mood. Marcus Barbades gave a smile that would make his previous gaze look like a lie to Herscherik. If you fail, dodge it with a smile. This is an extremely clever child, it seems, Your Majesty. I'm looking forward to his future. I see. This child is my treasure, so I look forward to how he grew up from here on out. Herscherik's father replied to Marquis Barbier's work with a smile. However, Herscherik did not overlook the single moment when his father's hand and expression stiffened. In addition, he sensed a great sense of discomfort from exchange between the two of them then. But after that moment, the two conversed as if nothing had happened, causing Herscherik to close his mouth, but without saying anything. When the greeting from the aristocrat neared to the end, the men took out. A man looked with a worry too much, stood before the guest of honor. Herscherik noticed that he sensed a strong gaze. He was probably around his late 30s. He was a man with yellow hair swept back, and he was riding on a tri-tail coat of a prime of his life. He had an intense face, but compared to other nobles, it was quite thin. No, rather than calling it thin, it would be more correct to say worn out. No one called out about his appearance, nor his brooding abidance. The people around his kept a fixed distance from him. And then he clenched his fist and made a decision to advance forward. Your Majesty, I have something I wish to convey to you. Without any greeting, he began to speak, making Herscherik's shoulders to tremble in surprise, as if to protect his son. The father took a step forward and hid him behind his back to confront the man. For what? So leer with the face benefiting of a king, asked the man in a voice that's different from the kind of voice he used towards Herscherik. From being his father, Herscherik peeked out to look around his father and the man, as well as surrounding people. The previous spectacular atmosphere of the area vanished. The music stopped, no one opened their mouth. A heavy air of tension dominated the area. Your Majesty, we grew closer to the citizens' breaking point year after year. The forceful collection of the tax whose rate increased each year. The justice of oppression and aristocratic and government official increased every single day. I beg of you, Your Majesty, please shift your attention towards the city. The man's voice echoed in silence the banquet hall. At this rate, our greatest kingdom will surpass 500 years since its founding and is on its path to complete ruination. You are being rude in presence of His Majesty. Restrain yourself, Earl of Luria. The one who stopped him was Marquis Barbades. However, the thin man, Earl of Lusaria, opened his eyes widely all of a sudden and glared at the minister. You are the one who must be restrained. You're the one that must restrain yourself, Marquis Barbes. As aristocrat and Marquis, you are the beast who devoured the country. What? Your corrupted acts foul your own pocket because you're a physician. Moreover, I know you're communicating with other countries. You. The Earl of Luzaria took out a single document presented to the king. Your Majesty, this is one of the pieces of evidence I have gathered for his corruption. I beg of you, Your Majesty, please accept this. Herschik's father timidly accepted, and his eyes followed the lines on his paper. Right after looking at it, the king understood and let out a gasp. This is... He didn't need to say the content out loud, but without a doubt, it contained shocking truth. The king's faintly trembled voice was the proof. The banquet fell silent. It was accused of Marquis Barbes who broke up in silence. Your Majesty, this is a fraud. It was an awfully calm voice. It surpassed calm in each way. When Herscherik turned his line of sight, there were Marquis Barbes staring at the Earl of Luzaria with a serious face. In the past, there were rumors of me having communicated with foreign countries. As I have no such memory of doing so, I investigated on my own as soon as I did. Someone has fostered my name and communicated our terrible enemy nation. It was you, Earl of Luzaria. It was the moment Herscherik saw it. Mr. Barbes, whose face was serious until then, raised the corner of his detestable mouth in a troubled expression for just 1 second. In contrast, Earl of Luzaria's expression was slowly slain and colored and despaired of their thinking a couple of seconds. The Marquis Barbes gave a signal. A man appeared of nowhere presented a sealed letter to the king. There is no sign of being opened of the seal wax on the paper. In the letter, my subordinate captured a spy who left Earl Luzaria's mansion right before it entered the foreign nation. This was he was holding. Earl of Luzaria, does this letter belong to you? The Earl answered the king's question with silence. The imperial seal on the sealing wax. Because the sealing would be cracked once we open, this unopened letter is an undeniable proof. The king, who took the letter and opened the seal of the Earl of Luzaria, who didn't say a single word, he read the letter and let a deep sigh. This is a petition for seeking asylum to a foreign country in return of offering information about my country. I requested position and reward at the bottom, and there it is, the Earl of Luzaria's name and same imperial seal. In Herschik's father's voice, there was a hint of despair. Was the first move taken? The voice belonged to the Earl of Luzaria. No one heard it, but with a small voice that only a nearby king and Herscherik could hear. Arrest the traitor! Marquis Barbes trumpeted his proclamation echoed. Knights entered the banquet hall in a hurry and pinned down Earl of Luzaria, pushing him on his head. When the hall had become noisy, something shiny ran by. A light ran over the polished noble top and stopped around Herschik's feet. There was a beautiful old silver pocket watch fell down. When Herscherik picked it up, it was so big it filled the entire palm of a 3-year-old. When he returned his gaze from the pocket watch back to the banquet hall, the Earl of Luzaria was already tied up in ropes and leaving the banquet hall behind. I'm sorry for ruining your long-awaited party, Herscherik heard his father's voice above his head and was held in his arm. When the two of their eyes met, his father's face was very tired. It looked like he would cry at any moment. Shall we end it here tonight? This was the ending signal for the banquet and the king's exit, bringing along his beloved son. The king's butler was the only one who followed them after, and no one obstructed their way. This is weird. Herscherik stared at the pocket watch as he was being taken away like that. Since coming to this world, this was the first time he sensed discomfort and unease in his life as living as royalty, taking a complete change from a common folk. The life of upper-class royalty was full of surprises. However, he understood in the end, and it was the uncomfortable feeling he has gotten used to. The level of uneasiness that was there changing his stable food, the rice to the bread. But this uneasy was completely different type than that. The sound of the second hand that could be heard on his pocket watch seemed to be stirring up Herschik's unease and its agreement and disagreement. Ta-da! Alright, that is chapter 2. That was quite a long stream, isn't it? Okay, thank you everyone for coming and listening. Okay, that's the end. Chapter 3 will come out